I have got a question for you. So the question is, when you consider property maintenance, routine maintenance, would that be considered an expense or is that an investment? My name is Chatto, and there's a reason I asked this question. So I've been a landlord for over 25 years and a full-time investor for over 10, and I wanted to have a quick chat with Chatto based on routine maintenance about something that came up recently in my business. So it's a time of year we should do gutters, right? The leaves fall, they get in the gutters, and it's already January. So I am behind the 8 ball on this already. So I'm not perfect. But winter hit early, and between the holidays and availability and everything else, we just weren't able to get it done before the first couple of snowfalls. But we've had a nice couple of days. So this has been on our radar. We got to get the gutters done. We got to get the gutters done. And while the contractor was at the property, he's up on the roof, we have him, hey, let's take a look and see what's going on up there. Make sure there's no issues, potential problems. And actually on 2 of the properties, there are potential future roof issues. Roofs that are getting close to like, hey, we're gonna have a problem here. If not, in the next 6 months, maybe the next year. And now, if we weren't doing this routine maintenance, that could have become a much bigger thing and cost us a lot more money. So this investment in routine maintenance is going to end up saving us thousands in potential expenses if we don't get them resolved in a timely manner. So I figured, it would be a good question. Is it an expense or an investment? Obviously, you do your taxes, it's an expense. But it brought forward to the forefront of my mind how important routine maintenance is as somebody who owns rental property. So I kind of wanted to go over. I got a couple little things that I put together, just things to touch on and things to think about as far as routine maintenance. So without further ado, let's have a quick chat with Chatto about routine maintenance. So number one is the HVAC system. It's extremely important, especially in a forced air system, that the filters get changed on a regular basis. If they don't get changed, what's going to happen? Well, okay, no big deal. So that's why I kind of put in a thumbnail, important but not urgent, right? So if you don't change your filter this week, okay. If you don't change it next week, okay. But eventually, it gets to the point where you haven't changed your filter and there's adverse consequences that come of it. One of the adverse consequences that come of it is a no heat call, right? So now you may send out a technician and spend money to get a technician out there to say, hey, the system's set down because take a look at this filter. It's completely filthy. So that's one of the potential adverse issues that come up by not changing the filter. And also, right, so now if the filter is caked up and filled with stuff, that's going to prevent airflow, and it's going to cause the heating system to work harder, which is going to cause it to fail sooner. It's going to cost you more money. The money that you spent for your HVAC system, let's say $5,000, and instead of lasting 10 years, it lasts 7 years, right? So that's a good bit of money that adds up, because now you got to replace the system prematurely. Also, right, it's probably a good idea if you have somebody, a handyman or whoever who's experienced enough, when they're at the property on a regular basis, maybe yearly, to check on any type of heating system. If it's a water heating system, right, is there enough water in the system? Sometimes the water level gets low and the automatic filler isn't filling it up, and that kind of thing. And just generally check everything out and do like a quick, service type of, do a quick service on the HVAC system. Just make sure everything's running right and that there's no issues. And again, it's going to help you save money in the long run. Another big one that's a great routine maintenance that you need to be on top of is the batteries and testing of smoke and carbon detectors. And again, if it starts beeping, it's important, right? Not necessarily urgent yet. It's urgent if it comes to the point that there's a fire. If you don't get it done and there's a fire and it doesn't go off, and there could be pretty adverse consequences to that. If there's a carbon monoxide leak in your house and the carbon monoxide detector is not working, that could be a major issue. So it's extremely important to make sure that those things get checked and handled, and that their carbon and smokes are in good shape at least once a year. Some municipalities have CO inspections on a regular basis, and that's the main thing they come in and check, and there's a reason for that. So as a landlord, you need to put systems in place to make sure that those things are handled. Third thing I want to talk about is gutters and downspouts, which again we're doing right now. When the gutters get filled with leaves, and the tenants probably don't have a ladder to climb up, and you don't necessarily want the tenants climbing up on a ladder to clean out gutters at your property, because it's potential liability if they fall. So send out your contractor on a regular basis. I would say at least every fall when all the leaves come down. Send out your contractor, licensed and insured, right? So he can climb up on that ladder, handle the gutter cleaning, and while he's there, right, we can do the other stuff, which I'm going to kind of dive into in a second. But there's other things he can do while he's there to make it even more worthwhile. But clogged gutters, they can be problematic, right? Because and that's going to help. That's potentially going to be cause of roof leaks, right? When the water gets pulled up and it doesn't flow the way it's supposed to and go away from the foundation the way it's supposed to, it can lead to foundation issues, roof issues, etc. Right? Like you've gone by the property and you've seen the property with the gutter with all the trees growing out of it. And there's a reason the trees are growing out of it, because nobody cleans the gutter. So the gutters are there for a reason, but they get filled with leaves pretty easily. So that needs to get handled at least once a year. Now, while your contractor's there, he's up on the roof. It's a great idea to check the roof, like we did at this past couple days. We've been doing them. And up on the roof, you find potential future issues. Like, hey, I see this shingle starting to come loose. I see these nails are starting to pop. I see it looks like we have this area that water might be getting into the property. Let's check that out. Oh, wow, I see this area where animals might be getting in. It's expensive if certain animals get into your attic to get them exterminated, removed, taken away. It can cost a lot of money. So that's huge. So like while they're there, check around the roof, check around, and not only the roof, right? Because obviously you get a roof leak, like the consequences of that are huge, right? It's going to be a lot less money for you to proactively repair the roof than it is going to be for you to wait until the roof is leaking and potentially have damaged plywood that now for the roof that needs to get replaced, for the area that needs to be fixed, damaged drywall inside, potential mold if nobody notices it and that has time to grow. Potentially all of a sudden you can have a bad rainstorm and the tenant's lying there in bed and they got water dripping on their head. Like, that's not good. So just while they're there checking the downspouts and the gutters, please check the roof. And also, while you're there, do an exterior inspection at the same time. There are times, especially in older houses and older windows, and there's starts to be wood rotting, deterioration. We were at a property recently, and we noticed it has stucco on the outside, and the stucco is starting to come off a little bit, and there's it's a word I'm looking for, cracks and stuff in the stucco. So we okay, we got to get this addressed ASAP, because that can just grow and become a bigger and bigger issue. It's a lot easier to repair it now, get it fixed, than it is to wait until there's water getting in and there's all sorts of damage inside the property. So that's, again, kind of why I think that this preventative maintenance stuff is more of an investment than an expense. Another one that a lot of times people don't think of is flushing the water heater. It's usually a good idea to flush the water heater occasionally. And it's going to cause a couple things. Like the sediment gets inside the water heater and it builds up without flushing it. And that's going to make it a lot more difficult for the water heater itself to heat the water. It's going to take longer to heat the water. It's going to cost more to heat the water. And the water heater, again, is going to be working overtime. When the water heater is working overtime, it's going to fail prematurely. So that's another potential one. It's like, hey, flushing the water heater. Also, right, it's a good preventative maintenance to make sure that the water is shut off before the winter hits to the outside spigots. When those spigots freeze, it causes the spigots to fail early. Now you need to send out a plumber and replace the spigot. It's so just like some small things like that routine, and I'm going to dive into that in a moment, but that's also something where the tenant can help you with, right? The tenant can go, okay, this is where the valve is, shut it off, thanks, cool. You don't necessarily need to, I wouldn't spend money to send somebody out there to do that every year, to turn it off and turn it on, but I would probably send the tenant a message and say, hey, can you make sure the water to the outside spigot is shut off before everything starts freezing? Anyway, I got sidetracked with that. It wasn't on my notes. So next thing is bathroom caulking and grout. When caulking fails over time and grout fails over time, it will allow water to penetrate into places it should not be. That can cause potentially eventually structural damage if it goes unchecked. Because sometimes the water, the grout's missing. It's all going behind. Like, you can't see it. It's all the water's going behind. Eventually, it could potentially cause mold issues. Can cause structural damage. It could leak into the room below. If assuming like a bathroom's on the second floor, it can leak into the room below, and now you got all sorts of ceiling damage that needs to get replaced. And it's a whole big thing, right? So it's like simply, while you have people at the property for various things, different times, that's one of the things. Like, hey, was that caulking checked this year? And again, it's something where you might be able to get your tenants to help you as well. I mean, if you have a good relationship with your tenants, you can once a year have a tickler and reach out to them and say, hey, would you mind sending me some pictures of the caulking around the tub? It's not as good as going there and inspecting it yourself, but it's better than nothing. So kind of want to get into like, hey, you know what? With all this, your tenant is your partner. Like we spoke about that earlier when choosing tenant, like having a good tenant is an asset. Your tenant is your partner, and you need to work with them and lean on them sometimes, right, to keep costs at bay. It's very important that you let your tenant know that if there are any maintenance issues at the property, to let you know. We don't want a tenant to be afraid to say, oh, well, I keep complaining and then therefore he's going to raise my rent. Probably going to raise your rent anyway if rents are going up. We need to keep up with expenses, but it's not, I prefer, and I'm going to look more kindly upon a tenant who's letting me know when there's a legitimate issue with the property. Let me know, hey, there's a leak under the sink, right? It's going to cost me a lot less to fix that leak immediately than it will when it's been leaking for months and months and months and the whole cabinet's rotted out. So have the tenant know, like, hey, any issues, notify me immediately. Notify me properly, especially any type of leaks, any kind of issues with smoke detectors, carbon detectors. Like, we need to know. The other thing is, you can, if you want to make sure that your batteries in your detectors are replaced, batteries in your thermostat are replaced. Again, that's a source of no heat calls. The battery starts going weak, thermostat doesn't properly call the heat, and the heat doesn't work. You just need to replace the batteries in the thermostat. But anyway, and the other big thing that they can help you with, because it's great if it's done 3 to 4 times a year, depending on if you have central air as well, but changing those filters, right? So that's something that the tenants can potentially help you with, and you're going to get to know which tenants are actually going to help you with that and do it, and others, throw their hands up, nah, send somebody. So anyway, that's kind of the whole point of this video, though, is the importance of these small things add up and putting systems in place for them. So, if you're going to have a contractor handle your gutters, what's the system when the contractor's there? Like, he's at the property, he's at the property. Great, cool. Check the roof, check the exterior, check the heating system, check the filters, check the caulking, check the batteries, smoke detectors, carbon detectors, and right, some of the adverse events that can come from some of this stuff can lead to potential liability for you as a landlord. So document everything. Again, document. Have the contractor, maybe give the contractor a little report that they fill out for each property. Check the smokes, check the carbons, I check this, I check that, and you keep that on file. So God forbid something ever happens, like, hey, we were there, we checked it, we did our part. We were on top of it. We're not, I'm sure it couldn't hurt in case of any type of liability comes up. So that being said, hopefully this was interesting to you. It's been about 15 minutes of me blabbing on about routine maintenance. So hopefully it was of interest. If so, like and subscribe because of the algorithm, blah, blah, blah. Have a conversation with me in the comments below. I'd love to talk to you and learn more about what kind of issues you'd like to hear about and maybe other property maintenance things that I probably missed. It's not I'm not perfect. I just do the best I can, and just trying to share some of my wisdom that I've gotten over the years with you guys. So, appreciate it, and have a great day. Thanks.